Hi, everybody.
Hello. Oh no.
Is that you, Carrie?
No, I think Scott, was that you saying if anyone can hear you? It sounds a little squeaky.
Yeah. That's your computer doing that?
Oh, I
Oh,
think he's rejoining.
oh, it was Scott. Let's just wait for him to come back in.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
All right. It's 7 o'clock. I see we have four members here, so we can start our meeting. Um, I will call to order this meeting. It's April 25th, 2024. I'll call to order this meeting of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission. This meeting is being recorded. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Spring.
I know. Spring has finally sprung. I love it. Um, yeah, I was out on the site visit that we had today, and we had to do quite a hike, but it was just beautiful. And it was so nice out. It was great. I loved it. Um, so we've had some changes in our commissioners here. So first I want to let everybody know that Robin retired off of the commission, and we want to thank her. She's not on this call, but I did thank her a lot, and she was on the commission for a number of years and did a great job. So yay for Robin. She'll be around for the rest of the summer, I believe, before she's actually moving. So if you get a chance to see her, she'll be around. She's going to have some yard sales to get rid of her stuff, but I think they should be out of town by the end of the summer. And then we have two new members. I see that Jan is here. I emailed Bob also today, but it looks like he isn't here and he didn't respond to the email. But I, just invited both to come tonight, even if they haven't been sworn in, but Bob didn't respond, but we'll see what his story is soon. But Jan, welcome to the Conservation Commission.
Thank you.
Carrie, you have a comment?
I believe I talked to Grace this morning. He has not been sworn in yet, but he should soon.
Okay. Sounds good. And so yeah, welcome, Jan. And sounds like you've been sworn in.
Yep, did that yesterday.
That's great. That's great. I think we all sort of heard, why you're interested in being on the commission before, but that was a while ago. So if you don't mind sort of just giving a little recap on your experience and sort of why you're interested in the commission. And
Well, what I said at the select board meeting the other night was I've spent half my life trying to restore natural resources, and my field was fisheries. So trying to restore wetlands or at least protect them is kind of up my alley. And I'm glad to try to help with that here in town.
great. Well, welcome aboard. I guess maybe we wait. Well, Bob has a lot of experience with it already, but I'm happy to like provide resources for you and for Bob, in terms of like, getting copies of the regulations together and the bylaw. And just so you know, we have a bylaw that was recently passed by town meeting that's being reviewed by the Attorney General, the state Attorney General right now. But that's a new bylaw, should be coming back from the Attorney General at some point, and hopefully all approved and good. And then we have a new set of regulations that we passed relatively recently. The regulations are on the webpage, but I should probably put like a binder together for you of that. And then there's the state regulations and the state Wetlands Protection Act. And then there's also the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions, the MACC, that has a wonderful webpage. They just had their annual conference in March, which is always a good time. It's a big conference that they have in Worcester where you can go, and there's lots of vendors and stuff, but there's also, they have their fundamentals of education for being a commissioner. There's sort of these little classes, and typically at the conference they offer some of those, but then also, outside of the conference, you can still register with MACC to take some of those classes. And all commissioners, we all have accounts with MACC, so we can go in and use some of their resources and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm happy to put a lot of that stuff together just for new members. And I believe Robin was going to turn in some of her old references and things like that. Carrie, I don't know if she leave anything in the office?
Oh yeah, I have plenty of stuff from her. in the
Okay,
office.
well, if you have any binders like that with some of that kind of stuff in it, we should pass it on to new members, as long as
Okay.
it's the most recent versions of the regulations and the,
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look through it, but I will when I get back in the office on Tuesday.
okay, cool.
Beth, is there specific training that's required?
What was that?
Is there specific training that is required from MACC or wherever?
MACC recommends that you do all of their fundamentals. I think there's like 10 of them. It's not necessarily a requirement, but it's a really great program. Miriam, you have a question?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna mention a couple things. Hi. You'll need to update MACC with the names and contact information for the new commissioners, because
Yeah.
they will get a login subscription to the handbook. The commission pays for each commissioner to have a subscription annually to the handbook, which is a really good resource for understanding what the commission's doing. I was just going to say that there is a MACC introduction for new commissioners. That's like a 1-hour training. And then there's the fundamentals, which you just mentioned. But I believe the new introduction training is free. I don't think there's a fee for it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, there's lots of info out there to learn about being on the Conservation Commission. Okay, so welcome, and it's great to have a full house, have 5 members. It's going to be really helpful because we have a lot of stuff to do, and it's good to have different people involved in site visits and just sort of different aspects of because I can't cover everything, that's for sure. All right. So next on our agenda is minutes. Carrie put together the minutes for April 11th. Everybody had a chance to review those? Great. Is there a motion? What was that, Mary?
Looked okay to me.
Looked fine to me.
They
All right.
look great to me, but I was not in attendance.
We need a motion to approve the minutes. Mary?
Motion to approve minutes.
All right,
from
I'll second just because Scott wasn't there. So David,
Aye.
I guess, Con,
Abstain.
Wilson, I, Rowan.
Do I abstain here?
Yep, you abstain because you weren't there. So actually, I don't really think that vote passes.
So, wait, so I was talking to Grace because once I sent those minutes out and with new people, I was like, is this even possible to approve these? And she said that even if you weren't at the meeting and as long as you read them, like you can still vote on them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I also did not know that until today.
Excellent. Scott, did you read them?
I did.
Nice.
Aye.
Aye, there we go. All right, 3 ayes and an
Hey, I read them
abstain.
too.
Oh, okay. Did you set
Oh.
up your email by
Aye.
chance?
What's that?
Did you set up your Shutesbury email by chance?
I did.
Do you mind emailing me just a quick like, hey, so I have your email and I can add you on to the mailing list?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Great.
So am I just changing everyone to an I or are we redoing the motion?
I think you can just change to an aye. It was an
Okay.
okay motion. We
Okay.
got four ayes. All right, we have a few minutes before our first hearing, and I know, Mary, I don't know if you mind sharing a little bit of what you found out at the Lake Wyola Association meeting about the letter that we sent.
So, George, the president, did come to, the meeting. He had been asked by them to come to the meeting. And he talked a little bit about how their plan goes for developing a plan for this year for repair and maintenance. And, Dave Boren, who's the person that actually, does the plowing over here, will be doing an assessment. He does an assessment on a yearly basis of all the roads regarding what needs to be updated or repaired. He then prioritizes that and provides it to the board of directors of LWA. They then reprioritize it and budget for what they think will need to be done for that. And from our letter, he did say we had asked him to reply back within the 60 days. He said it should be done way before that, so that we should be getting something back from them about what would be going on with that. The other thing that they're doing is there is a request that's going to go to the select board to establish a task force that can look at some of the solutions, both public and private, regarding the wetlands and some of the concerns that people have. So Mark will be taking that to them for a discussion to see if they'll actually set up a task force to look at some of the issues in regards to drainage and in that. And they're actually still waiting for the report to come from FERCog. That's still with the DEP, which is supposed to do the same thing, identify where issues are, what repairs could be done, and then would need to be prioritized for doing that. So they're still waiting for that to happen too.
I think it would be great if they do end up with some kind of a task force, if again, we had somebody on that task force. And I don't know, Mary, if you're at all thinking of being on. I mean, who knows if the task force will eventually become a thing, but if it does, it would be great to have somebody from the Concom on it.
Yeah, I think well, part of that will be once they decide to do it, will be setting up the purpose and the membership. And I do think it's important from somebody from the Conservation Committee. I do think the Highway Department also, since they do a lot, have a lot of experience with that. But that will be up to the select board to take a look at some of what should be, who should be on the membership for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that all sounds great. After you were talking about that, I mean, having a group like a task force that can spend some time and energy looking at, specifically drainage around Lake Wyola and working with FERCog and applying for some grants and, just getting some funding for some bigger repairs and projects would be really great.
Yes, I think it's a great move to be able to do that. So
Yeah. Cool. Great. Well, it's 7:15. So we can start our first project. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of wetlands most recently amended, and the Town of Shutesbury General Wetlands Protection Bylaw. It's a hearing for the E5 F6 transmission right-of-way notice of intent. And Heidi, are you here to talk about that project?
I am, yes.
Great.
Thank you for having me. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. My name is Heidi Graff. I'm with BSC Group. I'm here tonight on behalf of my colleague Erasme de Cruz. He was double booked for meetings tonight. He met Beth out in the field earlier this afternoon. I'm representing New England Power Company for their geotechnical soil boring program for 2 structures along the E5F6 transmission line right-of-way. The purpose of the borings is to evaluate subsurface conditions to use for planning and design of the future structure types for a upcoming replacement project. So there will be at a later date in future years, the full replacement project that's presented to the Conservation Commission. But in the Shutesbury area, we just have 2 borings to present to you at this time. Structure 443 is accessible off of Pratt Corner Road. We'll be using the Eversource right-of-way. It kind of crosses 2 structures up from 443. So we'll use an existing access and cross into our right-of-way. 443 itself is located in the outer riverfront area associated with Nurse Brook. Would it help if I showed a map? And
Yeah,
just keep
that'd be great.
rambling. Let me show my map. All right, get the right screen. And let me get to 443. So this right here is showing the off right-of-way access. So using the Eversource right-of-way, we'll need to span a stream here unless the culvert is fully functioning at the time. It looks like we'll need to span that there with some matting. And then we'll continue up their right-of-way. And of course, my pages aren't transitioning. We'll get there. Then we cross into the National Grid or New England Power right-of-way and travel southward down the right-of-way. There are several sections where we'll be crossing a wetland, so we'll use temporary construction matting. The wetlands in this area are outstanding resource waters, so there will be additional best management practices utilized when installing the matting, making sure that there's no sediment or other materials that get into any of the wetlands in the area. So that is shown by the hatching. And then we'll get down to the structure. So the boring itself is not located in a wetland, but it is within the 50-foot no disturb zone, the outer riverfront area of Nurse Brook, and then they would turn around and exit the same way they came. Each borings typically take 1 to 2 days, depending on how deep it is to the restrictive layer when they hit bedrock, but they've typically take between 1 or 2 days. The machine, if anyone has seen it, it's a small tracked rig. It generally there's very minimal disturbance with the track moving in, especially using the construction matting. We're going to really minimize any disturbance in this area. Any disturbance from boring will be temporary. They'll be replacing any of the soils they take out after the testing is complete. And during the testing, these soils will be placed to the side so they can put it back in after and then stabilize it. Before I move on to structure 436, is there any questions on 443?
So do they basically go as deep until they hit bedrock? Is that the goal, or do they have a certain depth?
It's typically about 30 or 40 feet, but if they hit that restrictive layer at 10 feet, they stop at 10 feet.
Right, and what if it's very wet soils, I guess? Are they still, I guess, able to put all the cuttings back into the hole, or is there any potential that soils are gonna have to be taken off site?
I'm thinking of how wet would be wet. Because if it was, they typically try to avoid them if it's, if in this location, they could shift it 10 feet, northeast. Let's say it's level and they can shift it 10 feet northeast and be a little further away from that wetland boundary. The contractor will do that to try to avoid, getting into those wetter areas. But what they'll typically do, if it is a wet soil, they'll place it on filter fabric so they can put it back in the hole easier than if it's just dry soil. I'm wondering how it would work if it was like a muck consistency.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
was
really wet.
thinking. I mean, and do they show up sort of, well, I guess you said it takes 2 days, but do they bring soil to the site if they need to use it to fill in the boring, I guess, if the, like you
They
said,
could
it's
if they needed
mucky.
to, and if that is something that the commission would like to have specific specs as a
Yeah.
condition, that's something we can do.
Okay.
Anything else on this one? One other thing before I change pages, the orange hatching here, this is the natural heritage endangered species priority and estimated habitat layer. So there are rare species in this section of the right-of-way. National Grid and New England Power as a subsidiary has an approved operation and maintenance plan with natural heritage that allows for specific maintenance activities to be conducted without requiring a MISA checklist. So the activities in here will be completely done under the operation and maintenance plan that is approved with natural heritage. That's now structure 436. This one is accessed off of Sand Hill Road. This one, again, we have that boring is right on the edge of that wetland line. So I expect this one would shift a little bit to get it out of the wetland as much as they can. The matting that we're showing here, we're showing the typical work area. They like to have a 50 by 50 work area where they can, but they typically would not mat. They only mat what they need. So if the contractor gets on site and identifies that they could do all their work from right out here and maybe only need a few mats to just have a level area for the soil boring rig, then that's what they would do instead of matting the whole work area if they don't need it. So they'll only, this is showing kind of that maximum amount of temporary disturbance that would be needed, but they will only do what is necessary to safely execute the soil boring at that location. So again, we have outstanding resource wetland. We will not have any matting within the stream. If they did, we would have had to span that stream bank and shift that whole work pad, what direction? Southwest for them. So that way we'd be able to span any banks and not have impacts in that area. We are in the 50-foot no disturb zone and access is in the 100-foot buffer zone. Again, same deal with the soil boring rig, 1 to 2 days, and they'll stop when they hit that restrictive layer in this area. Since they do have an upland space to work with, I think it would be conducive for them to place any soils when they're doing the boring in the upland side of this area, as opposed to, if there is matting, as opposed to staging anything on the matting. But if they had no other option, they would put filter fabric underneath the soil on that matting while it was temporarily displaced. I can go into more details and discuss more of the narrative, but that covers it in a big nutshell. Do you want me to go any other details?
No, I guess my only questions, and maybe you have more information, really is about the cuttings. I mean, if you pull out the cuttings and it happens to be a rainy day, you know, you're not really proposing any type of erosion control around the soil pile, the cutting pile for either of the two locations. And then they also just concerned, like you start drilling and you find quite a bit of water and you actually have to almost de-water the hole. Again, like how is that going to be handled? Is there going to be an area for that? A dewatering area, again, that has erosion control around it. I get that these are pretty small borings. I think Erasmi said like 4 to 6 inch.
Yep.
So, you know, everything, if there is some fluid that has to come out of them, it's not going to be a lot.
Okay.
If there's soil coming out of them, it's also not going to be a lot.
Yep.
But, you know, just to maybe be prepared and have in our conditions, we can say that, you know, erosion control would be placed around the soil piles.
Absolutely. Yep, that's absolutely understandable. And they typically do have sediment erosion controls with them in case they're needed. So that is absolutely a condition that's definitely acceptable.
Okay, great.
So Beth, you went on the site visit today. Did you have any concerns about getting things in and out or doing the work in those two areas?
I think the access routes look pretty good, especially if the machine's got tracking. Both access routes, as far you know, they're definitely good ways to get in, but they were both wet in a lot of sections. This location, for example, where the boring is placed right now on this map, was wet. It had probably 4 inches of water. It was, you know, a low area and it had water in it. But as Heidi was saying, you know, if that's the case, they would probably move the boring up. Like if you move the boring to the north, you would very quickly get out of that very wet area. So I'm assuming when you actually go to do the boring, you're going to find a spot that's not, you know, got 4 inches of water sitting in it. And then the access road for the other one is quite a long distance. And again, there are some streams that smaller streams that come through, but it looks like the matting is going to be placed in any area where it's needed to be placed. So I'm all right with that too. That whole access road that comes along the Eversource is like scrap rock, large pieces of rock is what that road is made out of. So the road itself, I think, is very stable. It's just that there's a few of these smaller streams that literally cross right over the rock road there, which I would think those are going to be matted, right, Heidi?
Yes, they would span over. They would make a little air bridge over any streams, so that way there's no timber mats directly in the water or impairing the flow of any of the streams. And they'll also, sometimes they even will span culverts depending on the weights of any vehicles crossing over it, or if the culvert seems to be in disrepair, to prevent any damage, they would span those as well as they're needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that culvert you were just showing is actually a huge concrete.
I think that one's a massive one.
Culvert. Yeah, it's a massive, beautiful
Yep.
box culvert, concrete
Yep.
box culvert.
It's
Yeah.
the culvert that all culverts wish to be.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. It is. So yeah, no, the access roads seem doable as long as the streams are matted.
Yep, and that's a standard best management practice. That is that any of their contractors or National Grid, New England Power. I usually am really good at saying the subsidiary name, but not tonight. That is a standard best management practice they do.
Great. All right. Any other commissioners have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Do any members of the public have any questions about this project? No. Guess not. I can't really see. Can you take down, could you not share? Could you
Oh,
take down
yes.
your sharing?
Yeah, of
Heidi?
course.
That'd be great. Then I can see the faces and see if anybody's raising their hands. All right, well, I don't see any more questions on the project. So we can close the public hearing then. We need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. David,
Aye.
Con,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
Wilson, aye. All right, so the public hearing is closed and we'll work on putting together the order of conditions and we'll have them at our next meeting, which
Great.
is May 9th. So, and we can put that on the agenda for 7:15. Again, is that all right, Carrie? Does that work out? We don't have anything else, do we?
No, we don't have anything else at the moment.
Okay, so why don't we say 7:15 for this project again on May 9th?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for
Have a good
coming.
night.
You too. All right. It's past 7:30, so we can move on to our next public hearing. This is for 5759 Shore Drive. It's a amended order of conditions. I'll do my spiel. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, and Act relative to the protection of wetlands, as most recently amended, and the Town of Shutesbury General Wetlands Protection Bylaw. And I
Hello.
see Doug. Hey, Doug.
Yes, hi, Beth. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us back formally this go round. So my name is Doug Searle. I'm working with Berkshire Design Group. We are working with Gary and Donna West, the owners of 59 Shore Drive, and here on their behalf to request this amended order of conditions this evening. The reason for the request was that they found that they changed they did some architectural changes still in the design process, which resulted in a slightly smaller footprint for the proposed dwelling. As one of the big moves was not wanting to build the garage at this time, but still have a parking area in the space that would be a garage, so to still hold a kind of potential footprint for that, but and then changed some interior architecture so that it had an overall reduction in the footprint of the proposed house. It's largely in the same location, and no other site work is proposed to change that would adversely impact the buffer area or the floodplain. Can I share an
Yes.
image? Oh, nope, not that. Nope, not that either. Sorry, slight complications. There we go. Can everybody see this image here? The plan that I'm currently showing was the site plan that was approved in the order of conditions in November 10th, 2023, last fall. And this is the driveway. This is a 59 Shore Drive with a P-stone driveway that was leading to a two-car garage and a two-story single-family home. The home is located within the setbacks of the property, and is this line here that I'm following with my mouse, which is 85, it's 835.7 is the 100-year floodplain. And the old proposal was slightly abutting that, so there was a little bit of regrading into the floodplain, and then some additional flood storage added by a change in the culvert drainage system that previously had cut directly across the property from the road culvert, and then directly exited the lake. That pipe was removed. There was a new drain manhole installed. Previously, there was kind of an open hole. And so now there's actually a covered manhole that can be cleaned out with a sump. And then that drains around the proposed house and then doesn't daylight into the water, but daylights about 60 feet away from the water through a runnel with vegetation and larger cobblestone in order to slow and filter the water before it would eventually exit into the lake and be just having a little bit cleaner. So this is what was approved. The change is shown here. The old house is in this sort of salmon color, orange, pink, depending on how you see color. That's in the background. And the footprint of that, the dwelling unit with garage that's sort of under this space and this shed area here is a total of about 1,875 square feet. Front porch was here, and on the back there is a porch here, access to the backyard. In this light blue is the proposed modification of that design. So it abuts the floodplain, 100-foot floodplain here, but doesn't encroach it. And then this footprint for this house is only about 1,300 square feet. If the space that they're reserving for the garage is about 470 square feet. So we're looking at 770 versus the previous footprint of 1875. So there's approximately 105 square foot reduction. The area that's shown here in blue is a covered porch covered by the second story. And then this extension here is an open deck that just has 4x4 pier footings in this area. So it is a little closer than the previous footprint, but it is a nominal effect and is still outside where the posts would go are outside of this floodplain location. The line that I'm dragging across here was the proposed regrading, so would result in being the new 835.7 100-year floodplain line with the new grading of the plan. So the result of this largely is a reduced footprint of the house, and none of the other proposed site work, vegetation, and along the edge of shrubs and proposed trees, and the meadow buffer along the edge of the lake, and the way that stormwater is being managed, none of that is proposed for change. It seems to be in a net benefit for at least stormwater management, where there's a reduced footprint and reduced overall impervious surface, and that would then be leading to be captured into the drainage system and processed in that regard. The challenge with the house, it has a tight tank is what it's using instead of a septic field. So this is what get regularly pumped out. This is located to be a minimum of 50 feet from the well, which the existing well is to be retained in this location here, and also the tight tank requires being at least 10 feet from the house. So the house is kind of restricted to be in this location based on these other requirements that the dwelling needs. But that isn't pushing the house further into the floodplain. So that's largely the change, and wanted to see if there were any questions about this.
Was the regrading that you were pointing out that then brings the level down to the floodplain level, was that all approved previously?
It was, yes.
Okay. So that's where we needed the comp storage that you're already providing, that you were talking about with the swale and the,
Exactly
Okay.
correct. There was a little bit of fill and there was an additional cut, so we ended up with a net increase, a nominal increase, but we did not lose any flood storage in that compensatory storage requirement.
okay. And the garage area, is that gonna now be pea stone? Is like the driveway? It's gonna be,
This it would either be pea stone or it would be paved. I think their plan is to keep it pea stone to follow the driveway, but this would allow them to park in this location. One thing that I do want to point out, there was and I'm going to flip back to the previous approved site plan. There was a retaining wall that held a turnaround for the driveway and abutted this little extra. This was a shed that was attached to the garage and part of the main footprint of the building. And that retaining wall, we were able to remove that retaining wall so that we're having kind of less of an impact. And now we've been able to reduce the slope on the northern end of the property. So that will help in slowing down drainage and having less infrastructure on site. But yes, that should be pea stone in this area, I think, is the current plan.
okay. And forgive me, but I know you sent a revised plan, but did you send an actual revised NOI? Or well, just revised numbers, I guess, for impact and stuff like that, because we need to, for the amended order of conditions, we need to have any changes to resource area impacts and stuff, if there's numbered, the actual values, if those changed.
I did send over this plan over to Carrie, but I did not include a summation of those numbers. I'd certainly be happy to do that after this call, or it could be added as a condition in the memo for that amendment. Certainly be happy to send that over if that is something that you
Yeah.
need.
It is, yeah, because we basically revise the order of conditions, we make an amended order of conditions,
Sure.
and if there's changes in like the impact numbers that go in the actual DEP form, that's that we need that.
There's not, I'll have to look at that. There's not any changes to the bank or the floodplain, and it would be, I guess, a slight change, a reduction of 105 feet within the buffer.
Right, yeah, so actually, yeah, so not necessarily the DEP form, but we also have our own bylaw form that we fill out
Sure.
that includes the numbers, so that square footage in the aura is needed.
Okay, I don't think, I can look at that. I think when this was approved, it was grandfathered in on the previous wetland regulations prior to the new regulations being implemented. But I'd be happy to look at the ORA if that is something that is required.
Yeah, it would, yeah, we have our form that we've been
Okay.
using, so yes.
Yes, I'd
So-
be happy to do that.
Okay,
Is that something that I could just email to you and to Carrie?
yep.
Okay, great, perfect.
Besides that, I have no questions. Any other questions? Any other members of the commission have some questions or concerns?
No,
Nope.
No. Okay, do any members of the public have questions or concerns? Oh, Miriam?
Hi, thanks. I was just gonna say that we did, when this order of conditions was issued, we did issue 2 separate permits, one under the bylaw and one under the Wetlands Protection Act. So the form did quantify the amount of alteration for buffer zone impact.
Right,
Okay,
yeah,
great. Yeah.
and those are the numbers that we just need to change because the impacts have changed a bit.
Great. Yeah, I'd be happy to get those numbers over to you.
Okay. All right, and any other comments from anyone? Nope. All right, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to close the hearing.
Nice. Second?
Can I ask Beth, just on that point, if we close the hearing, Doug can still send over the information we've asked for. He can still provide that to us, correct?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's fine. Yep, we've asked for it and he's gonna provide it, so,
I second.
all right. David,
Abstain.
Con,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
and Wilson is aye. All right, so again, just like the previous one, we'll work on the order of conditions, and we'll get that information from you, Doug. That would be great.
Okay, great.
So then we'll bring back a prepared order of conditions to review with you on May 9th.
Okay.
And Carrie, should we put that on the agenda for 7:30?
I can do that.
Sounds good. If that works for you, Doug, 7:30?
That should work just fine. Yes.
Okay, great.
Great. I'll get those numbers over to you guys promptly, and we'll go from there.
All right, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. 10 of 8. We're doing so well. Next on the agenda is site visit scheduling. Let's see. We heard this week from the folks that own Jeff Lacey's old farm on Pelham Hill Road, Baker Road corner there. And it sounds like they have some areas where, well, yeah, we'll see what they want to do. They have some areas, it sounds like they're a little wetter than they would like. And so in addition to all, the wetland regulations, there's also a conservation restriction on that property. So right now, we just thought we would go do a site visit and talk to the owners and see what they're interested in doing. And see where to go from there. So if we could schedule that next week, here's my phone. The woman, I think it was a woman, Mariah Shore, I think is her name. She seems to be very flexible with her time.
I think the only day she said that she's normally not available for is Wednesday afternoons.
All right. Tuesday or Thursday work for me in the afternoons. What works for you guys? Scott, you have any availability? You seem to be back in town now. This is so exciting. You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. I am back in town. I can go Thursday, but it wouldn't be until after work, but we're getting more sunlight now, so I don't know if that's getting too late or not, but that would be a possibility if that worked out.
How late are we talking? 5?
Thursday the 2nd is my last meeting is at 5, so if I get out of there and get home, it would be like 5:30 or so if I did on my way home.
Okay. Yeah, that's getting a little late. Um, I don't know, Mary and Jan, what's your availability and feelings about a site visit? We have this other site visit for another amended order of conditions at 14 Lake Drive. That actually would be great if we could combine the two. I like doing that one day of site visits.
Available, what, or earlier, if that's, is it that you normally take 2 people to do a site visit?
As many people as are interested to see the site, is great. And it is good to have at least 2, I feel like. So next Tuesday or Thursday, Jan, you
Yeah.
sound like you might be available. Mary, are you available at
Thursday would be
all?
better for me, yeah.
I could probably do the Thursday if that's the day.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't I check in with the folks at 14 Lake Drive? Maybe we go to 14 Lake Drive first. Scott, if you don't mind missing that one. And
Nope,
then,
sounds
yeah, and
great.
then, okay, and then plan the Baker Road one for a little bit later so that you can join for that one.
Yeah, and that's on my way home, so I could maybe make that one a little earlier too.
Okay, like if they say 5:15.
Yeah,
Or
let's,
5:45.
I think 5:15 might be doable.
Yeah, all right. That sounds good, just because, we had kind of thought that you were gonna be the, conservation land and then conservation restrictions and all that, if you kind of want to be the man for that. So this one has a conservation restriction, which, actually, hey, Carrie,
Yes.
if that conservation restriction is around and it's not too large of a document and it's electronic, could it get sent around?
So it's not electronic. And are you talking about just the agreement, the restriction itself? I should be able to scan that and send that. The file, I will say, is quite large, but it's probably not it's probably like all the documents before it became a conservation restriction and then any kind of monitoring. So I'll flip through it and I'll try to concise it down.
That would be great. Yeah, if it's a small enough thing that you can scan and send.
Yeah, I can figure it out.
Okay, well, and if you have questions, let me know too.
Okay.
But anything that we can just distribute to everybody, so everybody has a copy of it would be great.
When you're talking with them, Beth, I don't know if you have any flexibility for Monday or Wednesday, but I don't have meetings as late in the day, so if that one doesn't work for Thursday, if those other 2 are possibilities, let me know.
Okay, yeah, I think the owner said Wednesdays didn't work for her.
Sure.
Monday works for me. So why don't I check in with both of the 2 property owners and see what we can set up, but maybe Monday or Thursday. So, all right. I don't have any more business. Does anybody have anything else?
Oh, I actually do have one question. So when I was going back through one of the minutes, finishing up one of the minutes, there was talk about the master fee schedule and whether it had to go to a public hearing or not in order to go. Have you talked to Rita at all about that?
I haven't. I think it does. I think actually,
They already voted on that at the select board, didn't they?
Yeah, but for them to be, because I know that the regulations passed and then they had to wait for the warrant article to pass at special town meeting, and then they voted on that recently, so I was wondering if it was just automatically connected to the regulations now that it's been approved as such, or if they had to go to public hearing, because I talked about this with Grace and she feels like that they don't have to go to a public hearing and it should be okay.
Okay, well,
But
Um,
that was before me asking today, so.
yeah, the only reason why I think it might is that we changed the fees a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, the select board wanted a change, we made a little change. We approved the change as a committee, but we didn't necessarily have a public hearing, but yeah, I can find out about it and, hopefully we don't. But even if we do, maybe at the next meeting, we just, put that on our agenda as a public hearing. We open, we talk about the change. We see if any public has any comments on it and then we close it. It's not a huge deal to just have that be part of one of our regular agendas. We'd have to post it, legal ad.
Mhm.
Um,
I
But
will
it's not-
say that for the regulations for public hearings, I don't think me and Miriam never put out legal ads.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah.
that's good.
So yeah, that's something else we can talk about, but what was I gonna say? Yeah, the reason why I asked is because with these amended orders of conditions, with these new regulation fees, I believe there should be a fee that we collect, so that's why I brought it up, because we've had so many. So I was trying to figure out if I should be asking for the fee or not, but it kind of seems like it's up in the air whether it's right now or later after a public hearing, so.
Yeah, let me find that out.
Okay.
I will find that out and let you know. And if we don't, then we can start collecting fees right away.
Okay.
All right. All
I,
right.
I had
Okay.
one just update too. I've been talking to Penny about meeting over the Quabbin Woodlands track to take a look at possible parking for that. And I think she had looked at that before, so I was planning to meet her on May 19th in the morning. That's a Sunday morning. I think we arranged to meet at 9 o'clock if anyone is interested in joining. Or I can cover it too. I want to put the invite out there. So just let me know.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Um, also just looking at my calendar, Scott, I saw May 3rd, DPW NOI. I think we had tentatively scheduled another meeting with Steve. To talk about the NOI on May 3rd. I don't know, I have that in my calendar.
Yeah, I do too, actually. So
Okay,
let's
Cool.
come up.
cool. All right. I have no more business. If nobody else has anything, we can make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right. Con,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
Wilson. All right. See everybody in a couple weeks.
Hi, everyone.